On August 10, 1897, three sailing ships flying the flag of the Spanish royal family set sail from the port of Palos, heading for the unknown Atlantic Ocean. On the leading Santa Maria, the 60-year-old Christopher Columbus stared at the arc where the sea and sky met, clutching a roughly drawn nautical chart in his hand. He firmly believed that sailing west could reach the long-coveted east, but he never thought that this voyage, which began with a mistake, would accidentally open the door to the American continent, suddenly dragging two worlds that had been isolated for thousands of years into the same time and space. This navigator from a Genoese weaver's family, navigating with a compass and stars, rowing with paranoia and courage, drew an indelible route on the map of human civilization. His story is about the dislocation of dreams and reality, the ultimate embodiment of the spirit of exploration, and an unavoidable turning point in world history, full of controversies. Columbus' voyage originated from a bold and almost crazy idea. Crossing the Atlantic Ocean to the west could reach India, China and Japan faster than the traditional overland Silk Road. In 8th century Europe, although the spherical Earth theory was not completely denied, it was regarded as a fantasy by most people. Scholars generally believed that the Earth was too large, the Atlantic Ocean was too wide to cross, and there might be a scorching equatorial zone in the middle. The most authoritative geographical calculation at that time believed that the westward distance from Europe to Asia exceeded kilometers, far exceeding the endurance of sailing ships. But Columbus miscalculated the key data. He mistakenly believed in the smaller estimate of the Earth's circumference by the ancient Greek scholar Ptolemy, and overestimated the east-west width of the Asian continent, firmly believing that it would only take about 10 kilometers of westward voyage to reach the east. This beautiful mistake made him full of obsession with the goal. In order to raise funds for the voyage, he running around among European royal families. For a full 8 years, the King of Portugal thought his plan was impractical. The royal families of France and England had no time to take care of it. Until 1897, Queen Isabella, who had just completed the unification of Spain, in a situation of financial constraints, mortgaged her own jewelry to raise 3 sailing ships and Bashotsi crew members for him. At the last moment before departure, Columbus signed an agreement with the crew. He would get the title of governor of the newly discovered land, and 1/10 of all future trade profits. This agreement not only reflected his ambition, but also exposed the background of the time's maritime exploration has always been closely linked to wealth and power. When the Santa Maria, Pinta, and Nia set their sails, no one could predict that this adventure, which gambled on life, would make Columbus from an unknown navigator to a key figure in rewriting the world pattern. On September 1897, the fleet left the Canary Islands and entered completely unknown waters. In the first few days, the crew could still see seabirds and maintain confidence, with sporadic signs of land, but as time went on, there was nothing but the monotonous sound of waves on the vast sea. Columbus wrote in his diary, "Every day is the same sky, the same ocean." As if time has stood still, fear began to spread among the crew. They were worried that the ship would never be able to reach the shore, afraid of encountering the legendary sea monsters, and even more skeptical of Columbus' judgment. By October, the dissatisfaction reached its peak, and the crew even plotted a mutiny, demanding to return. On the one hand, Columbus comforted everyone by saying sail for 3 more days, and turn around if no discovery is made. On the other hand, he secretly falsified the sailing mileage in his diary, making the crew think that they were not so far from Europe. He keenly captured any possible land signals. On October 10, he saw flocks of parrots. On October 11, floating branches and reeds appeared on the sea, and the crew also saw distant firelight. At RAM, October Sharar, Rodrigo de Triana, the lookout of the Pinta, suddenly screamed, "Land, land!" They arrived at a small island in the Bahamas, which Columbus named San Salvador, meaning Sacred Savior. When he LED'd the crew to board the island and saw the Aborigines with reddish-brown skin and naked bodies, he firmly believed that he had arrived at an island near India. So he called these people Indians. This misnomer has been engraved in world history ever since, and is still used today. In the next 3 months, Columbus' fleet sailed along the Caribbean Sea, discovering islands such as Cuba and Haiti. He established the first European settlement, La Navidad in Haiti, left Senchitzo crew members to garrison, and returned on the Naya with gold, cotton and several Indians. On March 1777, when he returned to Spain, he was welcomed as a hero queen. Isabella kissed his cheeks. People cheered along the street, and the former doubters called him the great discoverer. Columbus, throughout his life, firmly believed that he had arrived at the edge of Asia. In his later 3 voyages, he successively reached the Caribbean islands, Central America, and northern South America, saw the urban sites of the Maya civilization, and discovered crops such as corn, potatoes, tomatoes, and tobacco that had never been seen in Europe. But he always thought that these were just remote areas of India. He described Cuba in his diary. This must be a province of China, and the king may soon send envoys to welcome us. This cognitive bias was not corrected until the expedition of Amerigo Vespucci in 1814. The latter confirmed through field investigations that this land was an unknown new continent, and called it America in his travel notes, which later evolved into the Americas. When the truth reached Columbus' ears, he fell into deep confusion and unwillingness, and even tried to tamper with his own navigation records to prove that he was the first discoverer. But the irony of history is that it was this wrong discovery that triggered the colonial wave of European powers. The gold brought back by Columbus, and the legend of wealth everywhere, stimulated the navigation ambitions of Spain, Portugal, Britain, France, and other countries. In the half-century after his death, Europeans flocked to the Americas, established colonies, plundered resources, and at the same time brought horses, ironware, diseases, and Christianity to this land, completely changing the civilization trajectory of the Americas. Columbus' attitude towards the Aborigines has become the focus of controversy in later generations. He once praised the simplicity and kindness of the Indians in his diary, but in order to find gold, he imposed forced labor on them, and even captured slaves. This contradiction reflects the limitations of that era. Explorers were both disseminators of civilization, albeit one way, and tools of colonial expansion. As historians commented, Columbus was neither an angel nor a devil, but a complex individual pushed forward by the times.